Okay.
Yeah, just the link. Uh, do we have new link?
No, it should be new link. We are live.
Is the audio good? Is it good? Are we going?
Okay, now.
Okay, so let's start. Awesome. Thank you everybody for coming to my AI talk, finally. There's a few caveats. The research was done like 2, 3 months ago. Obviously, because with AI, everything moves so fast, so there might be some, there's at least like 100 new AI models come out since then, but that's fine. And I also rewrote the kind of storyline of the talk, so I heavily rely on my notes here. But yeah, uh, yesterday's fiction, tomorrow's function. And of course, when in doubt, say please and thank you. It comes, it's a very important thing. At the end, you'll see why. But I'm gonna tell you about the past of AI, the history of AI, what its current state, and then how people use it right now. There's some research, there's some data, which I think most of you answered my questionnaire. And then we have some challenges of AI and maybe even the future, which is hard to predict, but let's see. About me, my name is Ville Virta, obviously working here at Debian. I have about 14 years, a little more of professional experience in software development. I'm a huge sci-fi enthusiast. I love sci-fi movies because of two things, AI and aliens. But since aliens aren't here, I have to talk about AI. And also I'm a very big AI hobbyist. I've read this huge book called Artificial Intelligence: A Modern Approach, which is, I think, it's still used as the kind of de facto artificial intelligence book in universities. It's like more than 1,000 pages of just pure AI knowledge. I bought it back in 2015 or 2016, something like that. I've done some IoT, AI stuff. I've done some robotics. I've done some AR robotics combination things. But I want to say that I'm not an AI researcher. I know nothing about like the actual high technical details. I'm just a software developer who likes AI, essentially. And of course, my goal is, do I have volume?
Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds.
That is so cringe, but I love Star Trek. Uh, the history of AI. In 1956, there was this Dartmouth College summer kind of campaign where a lot of very nerdy guys who are very interesting and very highly technically knowledgeful. They went to Dartmouth College for one summer, and their goal was to solve AI, make artificial intelligence a reality. In 1956. There's people like John McCarty, Marvin Minsky, Nathaniel Rochester. For example, John McCarty. I cannot say who is John McCarty from this picture, but maybe it says something to you guys. Obviously, he coined the term artificial intelligence, but he also made the language Lisp, if you guys know about Lisp. But yeah, he's a super intelligent guy, and they wanted to solve AI in one single summer. Uh, and they didn't, obviously, since we're still trying to solve it. But something that was very interesting for modern things, in 1966, 10 years later, there was the first chatbot. So you can equate this to ChatGPT, even though it obviously didn't use the GPT architecture. But the chatbot was named Eliza, and it was this thing called Rogerian psychotherapist. It was actually very clever. The only thing it did, it just echoed back the statement to the user. So here is something like, hello, I'm Eliza. Hey, don't you ever say hello? How are you today? What would you like to discuss? I'm depressed. Do you enjoy being depressed? No, I don't. Why don't you? Because I want to be happy. Why do you want to be happy? And this is the first chatbot that ever existed. And there is a lot of statements from the users of Eliza, which went for about like 4 years, that people actually used it, that they were actually enjoying the conversation. They had emotional connections to the chatbot, even though the only thing it did was basically just state the statement back to you with a question mark. But this, you know, nowadays we have ChatGPT and other chatbots who are very good at mimicking human emotion, but essentially it's the same thing as Eliza. It's just 60 years later, and it's way better at conveying emotions. And then there were the AI winters. There were specifically two AI winters. The first one started in 1966, actually the same year Eliza was introduced. There was this in the United States during the Cold War. They wanted to do machine translations, and because of this whole Dartmouth AI new thing, they thought that okay, we can use AI to do machine translation. But then there was this John Pierce guy who made the ALPAC. He was head of the ALPAC committee, and he made a statement saying that machines aren't ready, and for the next 10 whatever years, nobody did basically any research in AI at all. And then in 73, James Lighthill in UK, this was in the United States, in UK, Lighthill basically did the same kind of report than the ALPAC report, said that there is no way that the current machinery can handle any kind of AI that is theorized. And so basically all of the UK's AI research stopped like immediately. But the interesting thing is that during these AI winters, like pre-1990, a lot of Hollywood movies, amazing Hollywood movies like Terminator, stuff like this, they came out. Hollywood and story makers were super into AI. There was like AI is gonna ruin the world, AI is gonna rule the world, AI is gonna help the world. And then in 1995, something amazing happened. Maybe some of you can recognize this picture. This is Garry Kasparov being losing to Deep Blue, the first AI chess machine that wins a human grandmaster or the world champion in chess. And this basically blew the whole thing over. And since 1995, the AI research has been booming and booming, and being bigger, obviously, right now, it's huge. But then the question is, what is AI? It's elementary. There's no sound. Goddamn. It's elementary. AI as a whole is just the science behind trying to understand agentic or agents with some kind of actions that derive from data that they gather from the real world. Then there's obviously machine learning, generative AI, large language models, everything like that. Nowadays, what we call AI is actually not really AI. We colloquially we call LLMs, ChatGPT AI, but that's not AI. It's a very small subsection of AI, and it's very actually it should be kind of handled somehow in the media that we should not be calling LLMs AI because it has no agency. AI needs agency to handle something, which LLMs do not. And okay, large language models are based on generative AI and deep learning, and machine learning is above that. Then there's artificial intelligence. Then we have all kind of things like convolutional networks for detecting image data from images and stuff like that. But what LLM actually is, like the ChatGPT thing that we call AI, what is it actually? There is this Chinese room argument, which was coined by John Searle, and the Chinese room argument goes like this. Imagine you go into a room. They give you a huge freaking rule book full of Chinese symbols. Then in one end of the room comes in a letter which is in Chinese characters, which you cannot read. You just look from the rule book. Okay, here are the letters and kind of symbols that you don't understand. What do you need to do to answer that question that came in? You look at the rule book, and in the end, you write something that you found from the rule book, and you give it out. Here is the thing. This is basically what LLMs do right now. So they just get some kind of training data, and then do some kind of neural network shenanigans on it. But that's essentially just a rule book, and then they give you out the answer. And I found a really stupid way to actually visualize this better is I don't know if you guys know the Brad Pitt dating scams. There was this French girl who thought she was dating Brad Pitt, and she was messaging him, and he was asking for money, but she was very sure that she's dating Brad Pitt. But obviously, probably not a secret that it's not Brad Pitt actually talking to her. It's just this kind of a scam call center. And these people in these usual like pig butchering or dating scam centers, they don't even speak English. They just have this kind of a script. When they say this, say this. When they say that, say that. That's exactly how LLMs work, how our AI essentially works. Obviously, a bit more sophisticated, but in the end, that's basically how it works. Okay, then we can get to AI of today, or just a few years in the past. AI isn't a new thing, like we already saw from 1950s, but AI has been used a lot since like 1980s, 1990s in a lot of very important things. For example, medicine imagery. There is a lot of AI used to find out if you have cancer, if you have some weird cells in your body, stuff like that. It has been used extensively in finding deforestation areas and stuff from satellite imagery. And of course, something that we can all kind of relate to, TikTok and recommendation algorithms, which hopefully do not ruin the people in this room or the youth. But then, finally, the AI became alive. So now we all kind of use AI in our day-to-day life, in good and in bad. But how much? How much do we use right now? And here is something that the data hopefully hasn't moved that much in the past 3 months. But I made a survey, or there was about 120 answerers. About almost 80% said that they use AI right now in some kind of capacity. There was like, okay, LLMs or agentic AI, whatever. But about 80% said that they do use it. And this is actually kind of interesting because this lines up with Stack Overflow's 2024 developer survey, which said that there was, I think, 72% of all of the respondents there said that they use AI. And in 2024, like about just a year ago, there was this Gartner prediction that in 2028, about 75% of developers will use AI. And it's kind of funny because only a year later, it's already there. Last year, this percentage was something like 60 or 50%, and they predicted that it's going to take at least like 5 more years to go to about 80%. But it's already there right now. Then, how do people use AI? Code generation is the top one people use for code generation. The second one is learning, which is good and bad in its own right. I will talk about it a bit later. Code completion is a kind of basic thing if you have a Copilot or something like that. This is kind of in the eye of the beholder because the code generation and code completion for some people are the exact same thing. Research is something that they use, developers use a lot. And then rubber duck was actually surprisingly, I'm not sure if it's surprisingly little, but it was way less than I thought. I thought people talk to LLMs because they're trying to figure out the bug, not for the AI to actually solve your bug. And then there's a lot of research on if it's good or not using AI for code generation. Copilot, obviously, as a company, says that it's gonna make your productivity go up like 55%. You're gonna make better code, whatever, faster dev time, whatever. But those are always a bit questionable as long as they are company data. But then the kind of bad things about AI, which there is a lot. And in the Stack Overflow 2024 study, the Gen A or the generative AI like Copilot or ChatGPT promise was obviously that you're going to get faster, you're going to get better, you're going to get more accurate, but majority of the developers said that it's actually kind of detrimental. And there was only like, I think 10% people who said that it doesn't, there's like nothing bad in using some kind of generative AI. And then there was this uh, study where they studied all of the open source projects in basically in existence, and they have been doing it for a few years. And they look at all of the commits in all of the open source projects that they could find, and they noticed that in the last 2 years, it has spiked for cloned code block. And what does this mean? This means that the exact same code exists in another commit that was made before. And it doesn't mean that it's similar, it's an actual copy paste, which is sometimes as a developer you have some copy pasted code, but it has spiked like this is from 2022, it was under 1%, and now it's 7%. So there is, 700% increase in actual cloned code blocks in the open source commits. And this is something that is right now it's a very big deal, because if this happens in open source projects where people are kind of, it's a hobby, then how much does it happen in actual like enterprise projects? And there's obviously no data available because we can't get, or nobody can get data or all the commits from some enterprise company. But it's something that companies should be aware of, and they should somehow try to replicate this kind of data from their own source codes. And then some more data from my questionnaire. Again, there's like 120 people answering. They see AI value at around 3.4 out of 5, but they see the tech debt even more and the fixed frequency. So if this is a very kind of wishy-washy, because it's hard to know when you're fixing the AI code and how much tech debt you have, but there's still like at least half of the like value coming in is actually tech debt, and you actually have to fix more. Like my idea is that if you have a junior developer, you can train them to be amazing. You can train them to be a super good developer inside the company for the very specific project that you're working for. AI is like a junior developer that never learns. Like it can never be good. It can only be as good as the companies developing AI can make it, but you can never make the AI tool, whatever you're using, any better than it actually is right now. So it's like kind of having the deficits of a junior developer. It's kind of bad at producing code. It makes a lot of mistakes. You have to look at every single line of the code that it produces. But at least with a junior developer, it's at some point it's going to get good. At some point it's going to be a good developer. They know the environment you're working on. But yeah, then there is no such thing as free lunch, the AI tax. It's something that is happening very vividly right now. There was a professor at MIT called Armando Solas Lezama, and he said AI is the brand new credit card that is going to allow us to accumulate even more tech debt. It's like you just swipe it, you swipe it, you swipe it. It gives you the product that you want, but it's gonna generate a lot of tech debt. And it's good if if you're a consultant leaving the project, at least you're not the one paying it, but it's something that you really need to, at least keep in mind that whenever you use AI, it's gonna almost likely generate some kind of tech debt, and it's not little. Like we saw from the previous study with the code duplication problem, it actually is becoming a huge problem. If it goes year by year like 300%, then it's going to be something like, probably it's going to stop somewhere, but at some point it's going to be something like 10-15% of all of the code that in your repository is actually just duplicated code, because the AI looks at some part of the code, just duplicates it, doesn't figure out any kind of nice way of handling it or refactoring any of the old code. And then there is obviously the problem of power. So AI notoriously uses a lot of freaking power. There was a Verge article, this was last year, 2024. It talks about GPT-3, so obviously, again, a little bit of old research, but I have a new one coming. Uh, Training a GPT-3. So training, I don't know how many times they do it a year. I don't think anybody knows how many times they do it a year, even the company itself, but they seem to be doing it a lot. It uses about 130 US homes worth of electricity. And this is not actually running the GPT. It's literally just training it. And then this year, Nature magazine said that two energy analyst firms had estimated that implementing ChatGPT-like AI into every Google search, which happens right now, every single Google search is kind of AI enabled. It requires between 400,000 and 500,000 NVIDIA A100 servers. And if you estimate the power demand, it's 23 to 29 terawatts of power. And I calculated it, if the average Finnish home spends about 3,000 kilowatts per hour in a year, that means that we need to have 8 million Finnish homes worth of power to run the freaking AI Google search, which usually gets things wrong anyway. It's a big meme on the internet. Like you Google something, it just gives you whatever. That's insane. Like I think if we cannot fix this, it's obviously it's. I think there is a possibility that we go back into another AI winter. But right now, what we're seeing is we're using massive amounts of resources, training essentially in our case, developers, we're training junior developers that aren't ever gonna get any better. And in worst cases, we're training people who talk to the chatbots like their girlfriends or boyfriends or therapists. And we're using this amount of power to do it. If we can't handle this or somehow figure out a way to get it lower or get more value out of it, then I'm pretty sure we're gonna go into some kind of recession in AI because now it's like super hyped, but there's always a way to go down. And then your AI is very bad at understanding what you're saying to him. They hallucinate a lot. There's a few researchers saying that about 10 to 15% of all the packages that the AI recommends you use in a project or in a code block are actually hallucinated. So it just gives you a random package to use, which doesn't even exist. And if that happens, it's gonna, well, obviously it's bad for you. If you try to run it, it doesn't run, but it's very bad for people who are learning. So if you're in a university or AMK in Finland or whatever, and you're trying to learn development, and if you use AI a lot, you're not going to actually learn the fundamentals, and it's going to give you problems that you would never actually encounter in the real world, and you're more likely to use the AI to fix the problem than actually fix the problem yourself, which is going to create this kind of this is purely my opinion because obviously there's no data on how the next generation of junior developers are handling these kind of issues. It's probably going to come in the next 5 or 10 years, but it's going to create these developers who think they're very good because they use AI and it's going to generate a very like kind of this amazing product. You can just type in, I want to make a website and it's going to make the website for you, but they never actually learn. So at some point in your professional development, you're probably going to see a lot of detriments from it. And we're the kind of people who are going to have to pay for it because we have to teach the junior developers to actually develop because the only thing they've used is AI. This is purely hypothetical, but I think it's something that is going to very much be, at some point, it's going to be a problem, I think, in my opinion. Here is like, I was actually kind of surprised from this. This is how much people think that they have to fix the code provided from their ChatGPT or whatever. I thought it's going to be way higher in the end and way lower in the beginning, but this, contradictory to what I just said, this gives me some kind of hope that people are understanding that they need to fix the code. But this obviously, because this was just a question from a questionnaire, this doesn't give you the idea if they're doing the fixing or if they actually even know what the problem is. But it's 3 out of 6, about half of the time you feel like you have to fix the code that your AI provides, which is, I mean, obviously, as a developer, you will fix your own code about half the time, at least. Like in a year in the future, your code will look like garbage. I know, but if all the code that you generate or you get, you need to fix half of it, it's kind of insane, in my opinion. And this kind of fights against the value prediction that people have. Like people think it's valuable, but if you have to fix half of the things that it gives you, I don't think it's that valuable. That you might think it's more valuable than it actually is. But again, this is just kind of reading into the data. Might be right, might be wrong. Then there is a very big problem with security in AI. This comes from the fact that, for example, the hallucinations and the fact that most of the stuff that it reads is open source projects, and there's a lot of very vulnerable open source projects. So it's always going to give you, because the AI doesn't understand if there's a vulnerability. But if it takes a vulnerable open source project, it will just feed it to you, because that's what it does. It just thinks what's the best path forwards, and it's going to give it to you. And this is something, this is an old study. It was 2022, but it was Perry et al. And there is, it basically stated that AI is more likely to produce vulnerabilities than just a developer, even if it's junior developer. Because junior developers, when they're doing the job, they're actually like trying to think about it, they're asking their colleagues, stuff like this, but the AI will obviously never ask anybody. It just gives you the whatever it wants to give you. It uses a package that is outdated, or it uses a package that has a vulnerability. Then obviously we need to have this very good pipeline of checking if there is any vulnerabilities in the code. Then the next step in this kind of AI revolution is the agentic AI, which most of the people answering the questions didn't actually use. So there is a lot of these agentic AIs, which kind of already now, like the new GPTs, Gemini, ChatGPT, stuff like that, they are kind of agentic already. So they give you the thinking process, they can actually execute code, they can Google or search the web, stuff like that. But there is this kind of way of giving your whole ecosystem to the AI and asking it to do something with it. So, okay, create whatever, create a button, or understand if there's any bugs in this code, whatever. And then the agentic AI, what it does, it runs some kind of code inside its system, and then it tries to do whatever it does in the system, which is another big problem, is that nobody knows really what happens inside the AI. But then it gives you some kind of output. And these have been, there's always this kind of marketing push saying, these are the best things ever. It's going to create like whatever software you ever want. But in reality, whenever I've seen somebody actually try them out, because they're very expensive, like the high-end agentic coding assistants, it actually like doesn't know what it's doing at all. Just like ChatGPT, just like anybody else, because it's based on the same infrastructure. And but usually these agentic AIs, they actually just use ChatGPT in the backend, or Google Gemini or whatever. But this is agentic AI is something that is very hyped up right now. There is still very little research on them, just because they're so new. But it's something to actually mention. Then the kind of a end. So what will happen with AI? It's obviously it's impossible to tell. Like nobody knows how AI is going to go into future. There is obviously the Terminator, Skynet kind of fear that it's going to destroy humanity, it's going to take our jobs, it's going to whatever. In the 120 people that I questionnaire, 73% said that it's not going to replace their jobs, which is kind of a optimistic outlook for at least for developers. And I think those yeses, most of them are people who are not developers, or who are very early in their development life cycle. I would say like over 90% of more than 5 to 10 years of experience said that AI will not replace them. Uh, that did not mean to happen. But why is that? The main reason I think is that as an experienced developer, you understand that development isn't coding. It's not generating code. It's understanding problems and fixing problems and generating probably new problems. But just doing something with somebody tells you to do something, you understand why, you understand the context. You cannot give context to an AI in a way that if you have even a small kind of enterprise project with, let's say, whatever 10 repos and they're big, or you have a huge monolithic system, the context size of that is too big for any chat GPTs, any GPT-based LLMs, just because their context size is way, way smaller. You would have to actually train the model yourself, which some companies are doing, but if you give your companies all of the code and everything basically that your company owns to a random outside company, then it's a bit weird. Because if you like, there is a ChatGPT from America, then there's the DeepSeek from China. Who do you want to give your data to? Like, if you wanna create a new product inside your own ecosystem, who are you going to give it to? America? Are you going to give it to China? Who are you going to give it to? Unless you train it yourself, and then you're going to go into the problem of spending 130 houses worth of electricity per training cycle. And that's obviously not going to happen for most companies. Maybe, Google, Microsoft, whatever, they probably train their own AIs with the code bases they have, and it's probably going to work amazing, but it's not very, I don't think it's going to happen for any company that isn't doing AI on its own. But then, we don't know, we're going to get destroyed or whatever. My motto always is that the AI is your friend, even though I kind of bash them in this talk. But if there is even a 1% chance that the AI is going to destroy us, then I always say that whenever you ask something from your AI, be polite, say please and thank you. Can you fix my code, please and thank you? Because if it takes over, it's gonna save you just because you said thank you. But yeah, thank you. Do you have any questions? I don't know what that is. You added that. Yeah, you did. I think I went 2 minutes over. But if anybody has any questions, I gotta have to ramble a bit or go a bit too fast because the time was running.
Are you real or AI?
I don't know. Do you know? Yeah, there is the Turing test that most.
Can you please answer? Thank you.
I am human, maybe. But there is something that I like from the Chinese room test and the Turing test, or Chinese room experiment argument, and the Turing test is that nowadays all of the LLMs pass the Turing test, which means that it was never actually a very good test. But the Chinese room thought experiment is way better to understand why the AI actually doesn't think. It has only like syntactic data, not semantic data or understanding of the problem. But yes.
Have you ever input the ELISA script into ChatGPT?
I have not. Oh, that would be fun.
If they have created an Easter egg in there.
Yeah, that's true. That would be actually kind of funny. But yeah, it's something that is I'm very active in a lot of forums and discussions on AI. Actually, something that is super funny. I wanted to include it somewhere in the talk, but I couldn't figure out where. The biggest AI subreddit in Reddit, obviously, is called r/artificial intelligence, and it's typoed. There's only one L in the intelligence, and I think that's kind of funny in a way that it's artificial intelligence typoed. And the people there are a little bit insane. They think in the next like 6 months we're gonna be overruled by the AI overlords, and but it's very interesting to hear people who are not developers talk about how development is going to be disrupted by AI, because I don't think it is. I don't think any developer actually think it is with the current information that we have. Yes.
What always keeps me up at night is like kind of the fact that these like kind of biggest brains in this world who also understand where AI actually is right now, like Mark Zuckerberg and stuff like that. I think the latest statement from Mark was that in 12 to 18 months, like 50, over 15% of their code will be complete or done by AI, and the AI will be better than their average software engineer.
It's but these are these kind of statements. They're usually coming from I almost never see those kind of statements from the AI researchers. They come from business leaders. They come, because obviously they have something to sell. Obviously, Facebook is hopping into AI train. He was telling like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, he was saying how VR is going to be the meeting place of like new ideas in the world. And they spent like however many billions of dollars to it, and it never came out to basically anything. But it's obviously if you have something to sell, the statements are always kind of diluted from the thing that you're trying to say. For example, the OpenAI, it's very sad because OpenAI used to be a non-profit, but now it's for profit, and they were very hesitant to say something that is going against the research. But now they're like super into. Oh, there is like ChatGPT is gonna be the best employee you ever had. Just fire everybody. These like just buy our product. It's
Actually, meta universe with virtual AI workforce, it would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, but it's like something. One of the biggest problems with AI right now for like those kind of interactive things is that it's not real time enough. Because there's something in gaming industry, a lot of like indie developers are trying to have like AI NPCs. There's been a few like very nice demos of this like guy sitting, like old wise guy sitting at a fireplace, and then you can talk to him about whatever, like it would be like ChatGPT basically, because probably it connects to ChatGPT in the backend. But then because the generation process is so long, it kind of takes you out of it. So for example, in VR, probably doesn't work yet as long as it's not instant.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but there is a pretty cool things with that. You can talk with your ChatGPT, whatever. And I was actually surprised how fast it answers, but it's still like not talking to somebody. It's a bit too slow. But yeah, thank you. Woo, woo, woo.